grab a front row seat to the untold stories as we talk about how to live life on your terms. You're officially part of the inner circle. Welcome to Courtside with Courtney. And don't worry, I comped your ticket. I was very intentional when picking guests for my podcast, and I really wanted my first guest to be someone super special to me, and I can't think of anyone more special to me than this woman here in front of me. They say behind every great man is a woman. Well, behind me is the person sitting next to me right now, to the left currently, but my whole life truly behind me. The woman, the myth, the legend, everyone, Liz, my mom.
Oh, how sweet.
Let's set the stage by just saying we're in a safe space.
Uh-oh.
All is okay. No, I know this is out of your comfort zone.
Way out of my comfort zone.
So we all appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And I'll try to take it kind of easy on you, but we're going to get into some very real things because thus is life. First up, I want to talk about, I'm so grateful for our relationship. And I think that's something that a lot of people wish they had or want to cultivate in their own life with their own kids. Mm-hmm. So how do you think you really created such a safe space for me as a kid to be able to have to set the tone for the type of relationship that we have? Because we have such an amazing, like, sacred, real relationship that I don't think a lot of people have. And it was because this tone that you set and the stage that you set, from my point of view, was always, this is a safe space. Like, you can tell me anything. Yeah. I'm here for you. I might not love it, but I'm not going to judge you. And you can always come here. Yeah.
So to me, home is always, it should be your safe space. It should be unconditional love. And I think that's what you strive for. And so that means, you can talk about anything, you can say anything. Maybe I don't love it. Maybe I don't agree with it, but it doesn't affect how you feel about someone. Just because you do something that's great or not great, that has nothing to do with how you love someone. And so I think that was important. I always wanted you to know home was where you were safe. Home was where you always came for comfort or safety or...
But can you remember actual things you did or said that helped create that space?
I think you just talk. I think you talk about it. I think we talked about that. And I think, you say, I think that's why the house was always open. You came with friends. I think you want people to feel comfortable. You want them to feel safe. And I think I grew up in a very loving family. And I wanted to be sure that you guys did that. And I think when I grew up, I thought everybody grew up that way, with a mom and dad who just loved them and let them be. Not that I didn't get yelled at a few times myself, but it was still okay. You knew that it was okay. And
unconditional.
And I think that's what family is. It's unconditional love. It's not earned love. It's unconditional.
It's ironic too, because it feels cyclical almost. It's like, I guess, like a catch-22. I think when you have that unconditional love, there's a lot of a lower likelihood that you're going to want to act out and do crazy things because you feel that sense of love and security. But on the flip side, when you don't have that, it's like people do act up. It's almost like a catch-22.
Yes. Well, it's like, you're being told you can't do something, makes you want to do it even more.
Do you remember the conversation that we had? I have a vivid memory of this. I think I came and I was sitting on your bed and you were like, look, this isn't something I'm condoning. And do you know what I'm going to say?
I know exactly where you're going.
This isn't something that I'm condoning. And I'm not encouraging this, but you basically were like, do you need birth control?
Yeah.
Because you need to be safe. And do you know how to be safe? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. When you said you came inside of my bed, I just, all of a sudden it flashed. And I don't have a great memory, but that one did flash. And that's a tough moment as a mom.
Did you think about that beforehand? Were you like kind of thinking through, okay, I have to bring this up. How am I going to bring this up? Were you nervous?
No, I think in the moment though, as a parent, you always worry, are you doing the right thing? I think probably it's better that you don't know when you have a kid because they don't hand you a manual, but it's scary how much you can really affect them. I mean, I think people come out a certain way. I mean, I think their traits, I guess this is nurture or environment thing, but I think there are traits that are there, but I think you can definitely affect a person in a positive or negative way. And at times that's daunting as a parent. You know, should I have said, absolutely not, you shouldn't be having sex? You're you know, but again, that kind of goes back to the forbidding something. I mean, I could have said it all day long and you would have still done it. So at that point, you just try to think, how do I manage this responsibly as a parent?
Yeah, I'm under the mindset, and you guys were the same way, you and Dad both, when it came to drinking and stuff like that. I grew up in the DARE era, so I never really had a strong desire to try drugs. It just was never my thing. Shopping is the only addiction that I have. But
and we couldn't control that one.
No, you couldn't. Well, actually, no. I would argue the opposite point. I would say because Dad was frugal, bordering cheap often, he probably did the forbidden thing. And that's probably why I have a shopping addiction.
See, I think don't ever forbid anybody anything. I mean, I don't. I think you can say, I don't, you know, do you want to think about this way? But to say no, because that's me. If somebody tells me no, I want to do it just because they told me no. Yeah.
So even when it came to drinking and stuff like that, you guys always had a similar approach. It was, we don't condone this. I don't think that this is a good idea. But generally speaking, I know you're going to do it. So if you do it in a safe way, which to us looked like either being at home, or if I was going to be out somewhere, it was always really emphasized that absolutely, no matter what, do not drink and drive, period. And still to this day, I will not drink and drive.
Yeah. Pick up the phone. We'll pick you up. No questions asked.
Yes. That was the other thing. It was, you're not going to be in trouble.
Yes.
Because it can't be this luring in of like, and then, call me if you need me. And then I'm going to just crucify you for it.
Yeah.
So you guys always said, call us. If you need us, we'll pick you up. I don't care where you are. I don't care what time it is. We won't ask questions. You won't be in trouble, because this is before the days of Uber.
Yes.
And you guys always came and got us. Was that a conversation you and Dad had behind closed doors? Like, let's talk about this. How did you approach that?
I think we just both agreed. And I think too, you grow up a certain way, and then you have friends that grow up maybe a little bit different than you, or in a family that the parents had different parenting skills. So I think I was very observant of all that growing up. And I kind of, you kind of make your list of what do you want your home to be like? What do you want your kids to feel like in your home? And so you kind of make your action list on how you want to accomplish that.
Our house was always the house that everyone came.
Yeah. Your dad used to tease me, one thing. He goes, what did you do to these kids? They never want to leave.
It's probably pretty true. We still don't. Kinsley and I and my mom sleep 3 deep in her bed when we come over, all of us together, which is,
awesome.
We love it.
Yeah.
So you and Dad communicated about that, it sounds like. And then if I'm hearing you correctly, your biggest takeaway as far as like creating that type of environment and relationship with your kids is be open and have conversations. Open the dialogue. Be the adult and open the dialogue.
And times it's tough. And times I know you would get cranky at me. You would tell me something. And we'd say, just because you tell the truth, that means you're never going to get in trouble, but it's better. And I think, so sometimes there's a line that you walk there. You can't just.
I didn't really get in trouble though. It was more like you would tell me if you didn't agree. And sometimes I was like, okay, I was just telling you, I didn't know if I was ready for your opinion about it yet. But it's not like I got in trouble. Like if I went out and I drank, I didn't get in trouble. It was just like, you would be maybe disappointed or.
Right. But it wasn't just like a blanket pass kind of, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You didn't let me do whatever I wanted.
Exactly. No. So I'm saying, so there was the line that you have to balance to still keep the communication open.
Well, I think that's what I respected so much. You and Dad both walked the line of being a parent. We're friends now, but you were absolutely my parent growing up.
Yes.
But you weren't condemning. I didn't feel.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a hard balance.
It is hard because I can't remember what caused it, but I can remember saying to you one time, I am your friend, but when it comes down to the choice, I'll always pull the parent card. When you were younger, you have to, you had friends. You didn't need another friend. When you're young, you didn't need a friend. You needed a parent.
In every adult's life, there comes this time, or at least this has been my experience, where you realize that your parents aren't just your parents, but like, surprise, they're people. That time probably came for me when I realized you were married before Dad.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know you were married before Dad until I think I was like 17 years old.
Yeah. Well, it's not something, you tell your 5-year-old because, I was married when I was very young.
And you had no kids.
And I was married for a brief time and I had no kids. So it was kind of just a different chapter of my life. It wasn't anything that ever would roll in and affect you.
Talk to me about that. You married, was he your high school sweetheart?
My high school sweetheart, yeah. I married him after my second year in college.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? But I also finished college in 4 years in the middle of all of that.
Humble brag. So you married him. When did you realize your marriage wasn't going to work? Or it was, I don't know, I'm not going to call it a mistake, but when did you realize that it wasn't for you?
I think I was married like 2.5 years. So I wasn't married that long. And I just realized, we were way too young. We were too young to be married. And I just realized I wasn't happy. He didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I just realized this wasn't what was right for me.
Did that change though? Because obviously you were happy at some point.
Yes. I think, yes, I was happy at some point. I think, what made it change?
People ask me this a lot personally.
Do they? That's a
not about
one.
You, but about me.
I guess maybe we were growing up. I got out of school before he did, and I started working. It goes to that thing you talk about when you marry somebody at 20 or 21. Is it the same person you marry at 35? And I think we kind of hit different roads early on because he was still in school and he was in the Air Force, and I had graduated and was working. And I think I
didn't know he was in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. I think I probably, at that level, not now, but at that level, I probably started maybe maturing quicker than he did and in a different path. Mm-hmm. So things that were, cute when you're 18 aren't cute at 21 or 22 and you're out working. And I think that was it. So there was no traumatic moment.
Was it you that asked for the divorce?
It was.
How did your parents react when you told them? Were you nervous to tell them?
I was nervous to tell them.
Because they're very Southern.
Very Southern.
You grew up in a small town.
Yes, very small town. And yes, no, that was hard. Plus, it's hard, I think, on you personally. Even though I was the one doing it, I knew it was the right thing for me. It's a failure.
Comes with a level of guilt.
Guilt. It comes with guilt, which I carried for a very long time. Probably still do a little bit.
How did your parents react when you told them?
I don't think they were shocked. I think they knew me well enough that they could see, like, over the last year that, things weren't great. And so I don't think they were shocked by it. I'm not ideal. My parents were, married for a million years.
Were they fairly supportive?
They were supportive. So yes, they were, I'm sure they were disappointed in the little small town. I'm sure too back then,
gossip.
I'm sure I was the gossip for a bit that it happened, because we both grew up together in this little small town. But
shout out to anyone who's listening.
Yeah. But they never made me feel bad about it. And, if anything, I think it's harder on you. I felt bad. I felt guilty, mm-hmm. and I felt like I had failed at something, and I felt like I'd really hurt another human being, which was very hard on me.
I was going to say, do you think it was the right decision? But I already know your answer.
Yes. Yeah.
Did that give you pause moving forward? Obviously, how many years between your divorce
9
until you married Dad? 9.
9 years.
So were you apprehensive about getting married again?
Yes. Apprehensive about getting close to somebody. Didn't want to hurt anybody. I was the queen of date you once, date you twice, done.
Were you the original ghoster? Did you ghost people?
No, I didn't ghost. I just turned them down. No, but I would date like somebody 1 or 2 times and was done. And then if it got a little bit longer, as soon as they wanted to take me home to mama, gone. So my commitment issues are genetic, I guess. But mine was more, I just didn't want to hurt anybody again. Yeah. I think I really carried a lot of guilt. And so, so I just didn't want to get, plus when you, at that age, I mean, even though I'm the one that did it, it was hard. It was hard on me. I was really sad. And then you realize.
It's always hard.
Yeah, but you realize so much of your happiness is tied up in another person. I kind of think I remember telling myself I would never go all in again on anybody, that I would always keep a little piece of me so that if something went south, I could pull myself out.
I just gave this advice earlier, but I think you don't know who someone is until you spent an extended amount of time with them. But I think like the first 90 days, 3 months, people can mask who they are really well until about 3 or 4 months in, and then shit hits the fan every single time. If someone is hiding who they are, their true colors start to show through at that 3 to 4 month mark every single time.
Yeah. And I would say, I think it's when you start living a normal life together.
It's the honeymoon phase is over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anybody's fun when you're dating or traveling or going out, and anybody can have a good time. It is the day-to-day. Somebody comes home from a bad day at work. How do you handle that? How do they handle that in the relationship? That's when you figure out who somebody is, and not even who they are. Is it somebody you want to spend time with? You know, not every great guy is your guy. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with the guy. He's just not the right fit for you.
I'm a big believer of that. Someone can be perfect and not perfect for you.
Yes.
My college boyfriend, on paper, Kyle,
look great.
Amazing on paper. And he was an amazing human. He was such a good person, but shout out Kyle, but he just wasn't my person.
He wasn't your person.
And that's okay.
Uh-huh.
But so did you know, I know Dad, when Dad met you, he knew right away. It took you guys a while to get there, which I think is smart, but he said he knew right away that you were his person. Did you know?
I was gaga right away, but he was from New York.
He was charming.
Southern girl. He was, your dad. He was super charming. Yes. And I remember he came in a suit and he had monogram cufflinks. I was gaga right off the bat. Yeah.
He was very suave.
I was gaga. I don't know if I was in love right off the bat, but I was definitely infatuated right off the bat.
He told you the night that he met you that he was going to marry you.
Yep. He said, I'll marry you. He said, I'm not ready, but I'll marry you one day.
I think now we know who I have to blame for my unrealistic romantic expectations. But it's not without trial and tribulation. I mean, you had to go through a failed marriage, a divorce. I don't think those things are failures personally, because I think like you wouldn't be who you are today where you are had you not experienced them.
Yes.
But I know what you mean when you say.
They mold who you are. I don't know whether you count them as that a failure or not. I mean, I guess it's not a big overall regret because it's who I am now because of it. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, everything you go through molds you a little bit.
Totally. So you were infatuated immediately.
It was.
You guys dated for a couple of years, got married, had a really successful marriage, obviously ups and downs like any marriage, but overall very net positive, healthy, amazing marriage that I learned a lot from. How long were you married for?
Almost 35 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long
I can't imagine.
Long time with one person, huh?
I don't know if I can like somebody for that long, but I hope so. Something that you taught me that I thought was really interesting always was like the beauty of building equity with someone.
Yeah.
Having that time spent, which is something that after I got divorced, I went through this phase of sort of feeling like, I don't know if I want to get married again. At this point in my life, I would, but only for the right person.
Right.
The right person. And I think that that's so fucking hard to find that we're not there yet. But anything less than that, I don't want it. But if I can find that, of course, it's something that I want because I want to build that equity with someone. When you say that, you mean someone that knows you better than anyone. Can you elaborate on that? Yes.
It kind of goes back to the home thing. It's that safe person that when you come in the door at night, they know you. They know who you are. They know the good and the bad. It doesn't mean it's no perfect person. Heck, we aren't. It's knowing the good and the bad, accepting that in another person. And it's just someone and who knows your history. He knows, things about you and stuff. And it's a person you can just be yourself with. And you have history together. And there's a lot to be said for that. But I will say, I think being alone is more positive than a bad marriage. I can't imagine coming home. I'm so into the home, but can you imagine coming home and dreading walking in the door because of the person that's there?
In fact, I can.
Okay. So as much as I think it's fabulous if you can find that person, I think you're always better off alone than with the wrong person because you've kind of polluted the safe space of home. Yeah,
there's no place to run. There's no place to go when your home doesn't even feel like an even emotionally safe place to be, or a place that makes you happy and that you want to be.
Exactly.
I do get that. I think it's definitely the loneliest.
I think it's more lonely than being alone.
Yes. Is like trapped in something. Mm-hmm. There's a level of freedom that comes when you release something that isn't for you.
Yeah.
But of course it's not free of baggage and everything else. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have felt like that. What things do you think you took forward to your marriage with Dad that made it as successful as it was, given that your marriage before obviously didn't work?
Did I take forward? You mean from the first one to the second one?
What learnings do you think?
Well, I think I grew up, and I think as you get older and aware, I mean, marriage is compromise. I don't care how perfect the person is, it's compromise. And so I think you learn, there's that balance that you learn that you have to compromise for this other human being, but you also have to learn where's your boundary on compromise, that you're not giving yourself up. And I think that's what's important. You've got to still be true to yourself, but no, you've got to bend for the other person. And they need to do the same. You don't want somebody to bend to mold to you, because they're going to end up being unhappy at some point, and it's going to blow anyway. It has to be
equitable.
It does. And that's hard. And that's hard to,
balance. Do you think that it's possible to have moments within a healthy marriage where you're skewed too far one direction? Like, were there moments that you felt you felt like you were giving up too much of yourself and you had to rebalance?
Yes. I think there are times when you're compromising because you're trying to keep everybody happy, and then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, maybe I'm crossing a line because I'm becoming unhappy because I'm not being me. So then you kind of have to reel back and hope the other person can step in and understand that and step one step forward too.
What do you think is a tool that you use to get back in balance when you feel out of balance like that?
Sometimes I just try to think about what makes me happy, what that balance is. I mean, I know when I'm out of balance. I know there's pieces of me that are out of balance right now, and I kind of have to think about how can I work that back in to balance myself back out. So I think that's knowing yourself. That is knowing yourself, $1
million question. Can people change?
Can people change? I don't know the answer to that. I would hope people can change, but I will say this. I think it's like giving up smoking or giving up drinking. If you're an alcoholic, I think you can change only if you want to change. If you know that there's something in you that maybe is easy for you because that's just who you are, but maybe it's not the best version of you. So you work to change that to better yourself. I think in that way you can change. I don't think anybody should ever change for another human being, quite frankly. I think you should change to improve who you are.
Good answer. And you shouldn't want to change someone.
No,
they're probably not the right person.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. That's what I said. Same thing. Somebody can't bend to you because they want you so bad. They start acting in the way they think you would work for you. They'll end up being miserable.
A question I'm scared to ask.
I can tell by your look. Go for it.
How many boyfriends of mine have you actually liked?
Oh, wow. Wait, now that's two different questions.
Relationships.
Okay, that's a different relation.
People you have met.
No. Here's my question though. How many do I think I like them because I like them as a person, or I like them because I thought they were possibly a good fit for you? That's two different questions.
You can answer two different answers.
That's a long stretch. Let's see. I can kind of think of two that I liked.
Two in 36 years?
That I liked, maybe I liked for you. Not that they just weren't nice guys. There were some that were nice guys, but they weren't for you.
Who's the second one?
I'm not going to name names.
Give me a hint. Just tell me like something that only I would know.
No, I'm not going to.
Something that only I would know?
No. Because I don't know how to say it. No. There's two that I think were possibly good fits for you.
I know who you're saying now.
But there were some that were really nice guys, but they weren't the right guy for you. And I could also see that. Nice guy, nothing wrong with them, but they weren't. In the long run, they would not have been a good fit for you.
Did they both play baseball?
Did they both play baseball? I don't think so.
Oh, maybe I'm off. Anyways.
Oh, no. They didn't both play baseball.
Really?
No.
Okay. Topic change. Beauty tip you swear by.
Take your makeup off before you go to bed. Clean your face before you go to bed.
That's who we need to get to sponsor this podcast. Pond's
cold cream that mother uses still. Yes. Leah at 97.
I need to have Leah on the podcast. That would be so fun.
And you know what? I find it uncomfortable. Leah would love it.
She would love
it. She loves the limelight. I, on the other hand, am much more private, but she would love it. Yeah.
What's something that people may not know about me?
Ooh, something people may not know.
Or maybe people can't see through just watching me on Instagram or TikTok or...
About you.
I think the podcast is going to be a lot longer form. People will get to know me better. Yeah. But what's something that you don't think is everybody knows or it's not obvious?
You have a funny, quick wit. You have a funny, quick wit. I don't know if that always snaps on Instagram or pictures, but yes, you are pretty funny on your comebacks. And smart. You're actually very smart. You may not
actually,
be. No, but you know what? You may not be, probably because of growing up, because I don't think you were interested, not book smart, but you were very smart. You're very intuitive.
Thank you. It took me a while. Real talk. It took me a while to realize
that you were smart,
that I was smart, because I don't think, I think what you're trying to say is the way that the school system, the education system works, if you don't have incredible teachers, if you're not super interested in what you're learning, you're not going to appear as traditionally really
That's what I'm
smart.
saying. Yes, traditionally. But you are quite smart.
Thank you.
Yes, you are very smart. I'm amazed at what you've done. You're very smart. And you're an amazing mom.
Thank you.
You're an amazing mom.
I learned from the best.
No. Hopefully you built on it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to take a couple of questions from people that asked on Instagram. Who've been following along for years. I think there's some really fun ones in there.
Okay.
And then we'll dive a little deeper, talk about dad and how you handle grief and everything, just your journey. I know that you're not super comfortable talking about that, so let's end with that.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Does Liz work / have or had a career over the years?
Okay. Yes, oddly enough, backwards. My degree's in interior designer, so I worked there for a bit in that field, worked in an auction house in New York, then had Courtney and Trip, did not work for many long years. And then my father passed away in 2016 and I took run the family real estate business, which is interesting. So, and then when Ed passed away, my dad. We still have a company there that I oversee. I don't run it. I oversee. So as my sister says, I had a backwards career. I didn't work for a million years. And now I have 2 crazy different jobs that, so it's kind of on the job training that I started in my early 60s.
Never too late to start something.
That's true.
You really stepped up in both instances, which I think is rather impressive. Does she tell you if a guy isn't right for you? And do I listen? So is this question's kind of for both of us, I guess, because it's directed at me.
Do I tell you if a guy is not right for you? I think I do. I think I kind of try to keep my opinion until you ask. My father always said, do not ask me my opinion unless you want to hear the truth. So whether that's good or bad, don't ask. But if you do ask, I'm going to tell you the truth. So.
Do I listen or take your advice?
I think you listen. I don't know that you always, at that moment, take my advice, but I do think it rattles around in the back.
I think I've gotten better at that over the years.
Is that a fair thing? I know you listen. You may not react on it in that moment, but I think it's back there.
Agree. Your opinion always held a lot of weight for me, has always held a lot of weight for me. So I think sometimes when I do ask, it takes a minute to digest that because I know that it's a big deal.
Yes.
So it would be kind of crazy to hear that opinion and then break up with someone 45 seconds later. So it's a need to digest it. I have, however, had instances where I'll come in and say, this is a situation, it's not serious and I don't want your opinion.
Yeah, that's true. And I won't give it. That's fine. Your
eyes say differently.
Well, I am a human, remember? I'm not just your mom. You found out I was a person.
That's true. How to deal with difficult in-laws?
I had amazing in-laws. And so I can't.
Dad's parents were so cool.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. Yeah.
How would you handle difficult in-laws?
I don't know, because you have to remember they're your spouse's parents, and I guess it depends on if your spouse has a good relationship with them, then I think you just suck it up and go. But if he doesn't, I don't know. I mean, I can't really speak on something that I have no knowledge on.
How do you keep such a great relationship with your children? We touched on this a lot earlier, but I think this is an interesting sort of second part to that question, because I asked you how you created that foundation. How do you maintain that over the years, now that we're adults?
Yeah, I think I just try to keep connected to you, keep open, but not try to overstep in your life. You are both amazing grown adults, and I try not to step in or be too, needy or whiny, or, I try to let you live your life. And, I guess I don't know. I think that's all on foundation. I think, when you get older,
What's the best way to support someone who's grieving their spouse? How could people show up for people in their lives if that's like what they're going through?
I think you just show up and are there. Mm-hmm. And it is really hard. It is a hard thing. And I guess we'll talk about this more later. It is a hard thing to explain to someone unless they've lost a spouse. It is impossible. And so I am aware that it's hard for the other person to know what to do for you, and so I guess I understand they're coming from a good place. But if you haven't been through it, you have no idea what to say. And I get that. For
me, the advice that I always give on this is just show up. As you said, I physically show up.
Yes.
Emotionally show up for someone. And I think it's even okay to say, hey, I don't know the right thing to say. I don't have the right thing to say. I've never been through this.
Yeah. But I'm here.
I'm here. How can I help?
Yeah. That's what I'll say. Or if a friend's going through something, just, I'm here. I'm thinking about you. Anything you need.
There is nothing worse than someone trying to relate it to something in their life it is so fucking annoying.
But you have to remember, they don't know. They're trying to help.
People are asking for advice.
Yes.
So peel back the southern part of you that's giving me these vanilla ass answers and give me a real speak your mind.
I found it always more comforting when someone came up to me and would tell me a story about Ed that I didn't know, or something funny that happened. I don't do well when somebody comes up with me with sad puppy dog.
I'm so sorry.
And hugs me. That is just useless to me. It just makes me cry and doesn't help me at all.
Sorry. There we go. Welcome.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? They look that pitiful. They look at you if they feel so sorry for you.
And it's
I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Yeah.
No, that's a great response. I think just literally showing up and
just be there.
My pet peeve was when people always say, because obviously it was my dad that I lost, not a spouse. It's different, but at a young age. And when people try to relate it to a loss they've had, I lost my grandfather this year. Not the same thing.
Yeah.
Which I also have dealt with, and it sucks. I'm not denying it sucks. It's just not the same thing.
It's different.
Just in the same way that I can't go to someone who's lost a child and said, I lost my dad. I get it. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't get it, thankfully. But like, you don't, I think just not trying to pretend like you understand it.
Yeah.
You don't need to pretend like you understand it. It's okay. Yeah. Just show up.
Yeah.
I like what you said about a story. That's a really good tip. Share a story or like your favorite time with them or something that's positive is really nice to hear.
Yes.
What is the most timeless fashion accessory?
My black leggings.
You are known for a black legging.
My black leggings. Or yes, I wore them when they were not in fashion. Don't really care.
That's a piece of clothing, though. I wouldn't say it's an accessory.
An accessory. Timeless. Probably pearls are timeless, although I don't wear them that much. But I think pearls are timeless.
I always think of you as wearing like a vintage brooch or something. Or the silver bangles that you wear a lot.
Yeah.
She came in with these silver bangles that we started collecting when I was younger, but they rattle around. So we had to take them off. But it's like a really cool collection.
Yeah. I just started collecting them at antique places over the years. Yeah.
One embarrassing childhood story of me. Thanks for this one, guys.
Do you remember? I wasn't there.
Scared.
No, it's a funny one. Do you remember the time you were in that store in Vermont with your dad? And it was when you were doing the braiding, making those little bracelets that were the yarn that you braided. the string that floss, and they had this gorgeous display in the store.
We were in, it was like Michael's or a store like that.
Yeah.
And there
and
was
they were all color coordinated beautifully on this big display. And you start climbing to reach a color and the entire thing came down.
Ironically, it was a rainbow wall of string.
Oh, yeah. And they were all done beautifully in order and the whole wall came down.
To be honest, I don't know if I was embarrassed. I've never really been big on
stuff like that embarrassing you? Yeah.
Like, I think it's objectively, it was one of those moments where you're like, oh shit. But
yeah,
I never felt like deep embarrassment, but it was really funny.
It was funny.
I thought you were going to say the time that we were in the airport and I ran into the glass wall. Do you remember that?
I wasn't with you.
I wasn't with my dad. I was in the Admiral's Club in the airport and there was this huge...
It was upstairs, so it was glass.
What airport was that in? Do you remember?
I can't.
Chicago, or it was some.
I can't remember. It was a big
Admiral's Club, and my dad was pointing something out to me outside, and he was like, "Oh, come over here. I want to show you this." And I walked with alacrity into a glass wall, just like straight into the glass wall, because my depth perception was off, and I just didn't know there was a glass wall there, and there was literally a nose print of makeup on the glass wall, and I just ran straight into it. That one was probably a little bit embarrassing. Yeah. How did you feel when I approached you about my divorce?
Oh, good for you. No, I mean, it's hard. And I think it takes strength to get out.
Yeah.
I think when you're married and you have a kid, I think it's very hard to get out. And I think it takes a lot of courage. I mean, it's like you're stepping out and you're stepping into the unknown. But I think you realize that, again, yours was farther down the road and you guys had a child together. But I think when you realize this isn't what I want my life to be like, because I think it's harder to get out when there's no traumatic event. Nobody cheated on somebody. Right. So you can't get out almost out of anger. You just have to realize this is not, and it's all in a, probably, I don't know if it sounds right or not, but it's almost selfish, but you're putting yourself first and realizing this isn't what I want with my life.
In my case too, I felt like I was really putting Kinsley first. And I think a lot of people have an opposite approach to that. A lot of people think, oh, you stay for the kids. I think you leave for the kid if that's the case. Because for me, I wanted to show Kinsley what a strong woman looked like. I wanted to show her what true love looks like, hopefully one day. I wanted to show her the best version of me and the best version of Alex, for that matter.
Exactly.
And I knew that we weren't going to be the best versions of ourselves with each other. Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think because I have friends that grew up in a home where the parents stayed together.
I think it's total bullshit.
But we're miserable.
Yep.
And kids are so smart. They sense that. So now they're growing up in an their parents are together, but they're in an unhappy home. So what are you modeling?
Right. And don't you think to a degree that you're actually almost giving them that guilt instead of just taking it on yourself when you do that?
I don't know that you're giving them guilt, but I think you're showing them. What are you showing them? I think there's negative lessons there.
I felt really blessed to have witnessed a super loving marriage. I think in some weird ways it hindered me because I don't think I thought it wouldn't work out when I entered into it. I don't think I was like as cautious as I am now, because I hadn't experienced, does that make sense? Yes. I hadn't experienced a lot of like trauma or negativity in a relationship past like some high school bullshit. But like I hadn't really experienced true adversity in a relationship. And so I didn't seriously, as dumb as it might sound, I didn't seriously consider this.
It just wouldn't be rosy and perfect.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but I thought like, we can get through it. You quickly realize that there are things that you can't get through.
Right.
Were you surprised when I told you I was getting divorced?
No, because I knew y'all were having trouble. So because we talk all the time. So I wasn't someone who wasn't aware that things were going on.
I've never asked you this. Do you think I did the right thing?
Yes. And it is nothing to do with Alex. I think he's a great guy. He's a great dad. It goes back to two good people. Doesn't mean, but you shouldn't have been married. Your personalities brought out the worst in each other instead of the best.
That's what I always say when I talk about Alex. We were like oil and water. Yes. We did not get along.
You just weren't a good fit to be partners. It doesn't mean, you are a good or bad person or you just were not a good match. And so that's what I think. Then that's what I think with relationships sometimes.
And you saw a lot of that from the inside.
Yeah. You guys just weren't a good match. You have to learn lots of things being together, and not everybody, like you said, you're going to disagree. You got to learn how to disagree and be respectful.
Yep.
And you got to learn how to fight fair.
To me, when people can't do that, it's an immediate deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Can't stay with someone, can't fight fair.
Because you're going to fight.
Yep.
You're going to fight. You're not going to be married for 30 years and not disagree.
Are you dating?
No.
Say it a little closer.
No.
Loud and proud. It's okay.
No.
Do you want to date?
Do I want to date? Absolutely not. Do I wish at times I had someone in my life? Yes. Do I wish I had someone to go to dinner with or go to the movies with or travel with? Yes. But do I want to go through what I think it probably will take to find that person? I don't think I do. And then when I get down to it, I think I'm in like a selfish phase of my life.
That's okay.
Do I want to compromise? Because, when it becomes the holidays, I'm going to want my kids with me. And do I want to have to bend because he's surely going to have kids and family?
That's his problem.
So again, it's relationships are compromised. So it's a mixed thing. Obviously, I don't want it bad enough that I'm not out doing it. But do I wish that I had someone in my life at times? Absolutely. Do you
think you could casually date?
That's even more of a hassle. You just got to.
It is a hassle.
Yes. And you got to be on. And no, do I want somebody I can comfortably go chat and have a good time with? And I want a travel buddy.
It's called a friend.
That's true.
You have a lot of those.
That's true. And I think that's what I'm going to end up having to round up and do. But yes, so that's the answer, I guess.
So you have not dated.
Have not dated.
When your children grew up and started their own lives, how did you find yourself again?
Let me think about this.
I think this is interesting. And maybe you have a different perspective on this, because obviously the question's for you, not me. But my view on it was you've always had a really strong sense of self. I think you absolutely were the glue to the family, and you put things I think that you put certain pieces of yourself on the back burner in order to focus on us. But you never weren't yourself.
I wasn't all in.
You never lost yourself.
I agree.
Because I don't think that's what a good parent does.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was thinking about that. I mean, I remember thinking, it was kind of sad when you guys went away and went to school and stuff. But I love you, but you weren't my whole life. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's healthy.
Yeah. And Ed and I had a life, without you guys, before you guys, and after you guys, and we kept going. And I think that's important. And then my life even got more busy with the business stuff. But I do remember, and I think this is a different age too. I do remember my dad telling my mother when I went away to college, because I was the second one, you better find something to do to fill your life. Because I think back then she did great mom, but she doted on us, and that was her life. And so I remember him telling her, you need to go find something to do now, because you're going to be, sad.
Hobby, something that you enjoy.
Yeah. Because you're going to be sad because they're gone. And I was sad when you guys were gone, but I had kind of still had
fun too. It's a different phase.
Oh yeah. I can remember your dad and I go, whoo,
Thanks. You still had a life.
Yes.
I actually have vivid memories, even when we were younger, of you guys going on date night and we would have a babysitter or something, and you were all dressed up. You were so beautiful.
So
you would come out. I remember how you smelled, everything. And I remember Dad just being like, wow, your mom's amazing. Look how beautiful your mom is. Look at her. Always hyping you up, which I think is really important in a marriage and in a significant other. What are you saying about them when they're not there? Because you weren't there for those conversations. Do you know how amazing your mom is?
Yeah.
She's the best mom, all this kind of stuff. But I always view that as a good thing. I mean, sure, I was what babysitter am I? Where are you going?
Yeah.
Obviously it wasn't frequent, but whenever it happened, it's good for you guys, because you always had a life. You never.
I think that's important. I think you have to keep a life, Again, it goes back to you keeping who you are, keeping true to who you are.
What's it like to have a child that is so successful and in the public eye?
Oh, crazy it is. Because I look at you, you're just Courtney to me. But it's when it hits me, or things like when we're out and people are coming up to you, it's bizarre.
People come up to you too.
They do, which is really weird. Yes, which is really weird. Which, I mean, I don't mind. It's just, it's very odd to me because you're just Courtney.
That's true. What tradition that you started young, were you glad and you still do it today?
Oh, I think probably Christmas. I'm big on Christmas. I love Christmas.
Decorating
and doing it up and making a big deal of it, and huge Christmas Eve dinners. We always hit traditional Christmas breakfast. And I think tradition, whatever it is important.
How did you build
don't you remember?
Yeah.
I mean, is that what you, I mean, I think of, whatever traditions
everything.
you lay.
I would say, well, if you
going
want
to Vermont
for New Year's, Christmas, because you always did it up huge. I mean, you are an entertaining, like you are the queen of entertainment.
It's fun.
Like the way that you do it up is like you could teach a master class.
Yeah.
It's probably a second
probably
podcast.
not, but
no, you could. And for me, it's like, that was always so memorable. Also, birthday parties, the way that you celebrated.
They were big.
As a whole, I think was huge. Okay. How did you build your confidence starting at a young age? How did you build my confidence starting at a young age? That's the question.
How did I build your confidence?
I don't know if you remember this, but I do. I've taken a lot of tips away from you, and I do it on Kinsley. You always told me it's like really cool to be different and embrace who you are and embrace what makes you you.
Isn't that funny? Because when you're a kid and you're in school, you just want to be like everybody else. So when you get out of school, you want to be unique. So I think I tried to tell you early on, it's cool to be different. I was different when I was young. And so I think I kind of, tried to make you feel that too. It's cool to stand out and not be like everybody else.
I think I double down on that with Kinsley. Yeah. And I try to get really granular. Like it's really cool to be tall, or it's cool to be different, or because I foresee where things are going.
Yeah. With her.
And I really have doubled down on that, so that if someone tries to tease her when, she's like becoming taller than everyone else, she's in middle school, it's every so tall. And she's going to be like, and
yeah, how cool is that?
Next. Yeah. What are some of your hobbies?
What are some of my hobbies? Probably cooking. Is going in the kitchen is like my escape. When I'm stressed or something's going on, I'll realize I'm in the kitchen making something. Anything kind of artistic and creative is, I think, where I outlet. I don't outlet as much as I should right now. That's my fault. I need to get back into it because I can tell I get a little cranky, a little stressed when I'm not doing something. So I'm trying to get back into painting and things like that.
Yeah, we always grew up doing a lot of crafts and stuff like that. Where do you see me in 5 years?
Oh, wow. Where do I see you in 5 years?
I'll be 41.
Oh my gosh.
Kinsley will be 11.
Isn't that crazy? Kinsley will be, what does that put her, like in 5th grade?
I think it's 6th grade.
6th grade, maybe? Yeah. Where do I see you? I think you'll just be bigger than you are now.
Physically, or what do you think?
No, not physically. I think, I think Dibs will be huge by then. And I don't know. You'll just, hopefully a new chapter for you. Probably going to be married by then. Do you think I'm going to find someone? I do. I don't think it's easy. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's easy to find that person. And probably the older you get, the harder it is. But harder because you know what you want more. You've grown into who you are. And I think easy. So it's easier in that way. You know more what you want. Yes. But I think you got, it's harder. But also the longer you're alone and you get more comfortable it becomes harder to compromise more and more. So I think that becomes a difficult My tolerance balance. For people's shit is very low. Yeah. And I think you're going to meet somebody in an obscure way. Like what? Like on a work trip or something like that. You're going to be set. I think, it's kind of a saying, but I think you're going to find him when you're really not looking. I don't think you're going to find him like that, out looking. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have to roll this tape in the future if that ever happens. How to protect your children from bad outside environments without being a helicopter parent? That's a really good question. Oh, that is a good question. Finding that balance. But quite frankly, it's more of a question for you than me. I cannot imagine raising somebody right now. I think the problem is there's so much instant info and from all over that I have met we didn't have. For sure. She's young. You're going to hit it in for sure. But I remember you. Do you remember when I toilet paper TP'd that house? I TP'd one house my whole life. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, I do. When I TP'd that house, you were so mad. Yep. And I felt terrible
because it wasn't in alignment with my character. It was like something I got peer pressure into doing. I mean, I was in 5th grade. Like this isn't, but you never let me spend the night at that person's house again.
Yeah. Well,
but that's what I'm saying. You created boundaries.
Yeah.
So that
I guess you figure out. Yeah. If you kind of learn, okay, well, these parents don't line up with what I think is the right thing. So we'll scratch them off the sleepover list.
Hot take. I saw Lisa Allen talk about this, a woman that I follow who has 4 daughters. And I saw her talk about this on Instagram one day. And she said she doesn't let her daughters have sleepovers. And that's something that really resonated with me. I am not going to let Kinsley have sleepovers.
I think I could agree with that in this day and age.
Happens at sleepovers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let Kinsley have sleepovers. If someone wants a sleepover at our house, totally fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know the parents like that. And even when you think you know people, a lot of times you don't.
You don't.
Like that might be jaded, but it's true. People are weird.
I think I didn't realize that till you guys hit middle school.
Yeah.
I think in elementary school, probably it was a smaller group and I kind of knew them from preschool up. And
there
when
may
you
be
hit
like 2 people that I would be okay with.
Yeah. When you hit middle school, I kind of realized, wait a minute. All these parents don't have my values.
You know,
and that was a tough thing.
And anyone that I can think of that I would allow her to spend the night at their house, it's like my friends now.
Yes. They're your friends. They're not just they're not parents of some child.
If they one day have, you know, obviously they're going to have kids. And when they one day have kids, like I would let my kids sleep with them. I trust them implicitly.
Yeah. But that's because
implicitly. I trust them.
Yeah.
And so
that's because they're your friends. Though. They're not parents. They're not parents.
I don't know the random
friends of Kinsley's. Yeah.
And they may be great.
They may be.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. So I agree with that. Especially now. Especially now.
And I will let people sleep at our house. I think the thing that she said too that was really cool is like, you stay as late as you want. I'll pick you up at 1:00. I'll pick you up at midnight. You can experience all the things that other people are experiencing at the sleepovers so that you don't have to miss out, but you don't need to sleep there.
Yeah.
So unnecessary. Hot take. What's your favorite entertainment tip?
When I'm entertaining, maybe prep. I try to prep as much of it as I can ahead. That way, A, it's cleaned up, and B, I can enjoy it. And I can enjoy the people that are there instead of, I'm not one of those that does all the last minute cooking. I do it, most of it is I can do ahead and cleaned up. And then I'm having fun. They're having fun. Because I think if you're relaxed, your guests are. I think if you're running around and they just don't feel comfortable. So you want people to feel comfortable and, you know, relaxed in your house and having fun. So
you also have always said to me, everyone ends up in the kitchen.
Yes, they do.
Thinking about that as you entertain.
Yeah.
Do you think you just own it and you
own it?
They just,
I mean, you just
it is what it is. Just set stuff up there. How do you work around that?
Yeah. Well, even Thanksgiving. Remember the other day?
I was yelling at people. You're too nice. I was yelling at people to get out of the way. If you're not helping, get out of the way.
The appetizers were even in the living room. The bar was in the living room and people were standing around in the kitchen. It was pretty funny, but it is what it is. When it's a smaller group, I just do that end of the island. I put the apps right there. People are going to end up there. If you're in there, I get it. If you're in there cooking and stuff, that's fine. So just make it relaxed, make it comfortable so people feel comfortable. I think people, if they're in your kitchen, it's more of a warm, friendly thing and it's not so formal. And I think people want to feel more apart and yeah. As opposed, you know, you're not in a restaurant, so they want to feel a part of your home. So kind of roll with it.
That concludes our questions from other people.
Okay.
I just picked ones that I thought were really fun. Those were great questions.
Okay.
Let's talk about Dad.
Let's talk about Dad.
I know you don't want to talk about this.
Don't want to talk about it.
Why am I going to cry now? I hate this. Sorry. Obviously, Dad was the best, not without fault, aren't we all? But he was an incredible dad, an incredible husband. Let's talk about something positive first. What were qualities he had that you think people are universally positive qualities that people should look for in a partner?
Okay, universally positive. He was super smart. He was super, super smart. He was personable. Very personable. He walked in. We used to joke.
He worked a room.
Oh, yeah. He worked a room. Do not hand him a mic. I mean, it became a joke. You know, he would talk for hours. He was great telling jokes. I can't remember a joke 2 seconds after I've heard it.
And he's such a storyteller.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. He was very, he was very entertaining. You wanted to have him around because he was entertaining. He was
big personality. No idea where I got it.
In a relationship, he was very good at walking in the door and leaving work at work. He was very good at that. I mean, he and I would talk at night and stuff about it. But you kids, if he had a bad day or something was going on bad at work, you guys didn't know it. He walked in the door, he left it, and he became your dad.
That's so interesting because I have ended relationships for that reason. Many, in fact, where people hated their job or they were having a really hard time in that category and were just miserable to be around because it was constant 24/7. So that's really good.
Yeah, he was very good at
he was also playful.
At compromise. He was a kid.
Yeah, he was like a kid at heart.
He asked me one time, and he was in his 60s then. He goes, "Do you think it's okay that I still ride my motorcycle? You know, am I too old? Should I not be doing this anymore?"
What did you say?
No, go for it. You know.
Yeah, you guys did a really good job of letting each other be yourself.
Yes. And I think that worked for us. We had a friend who could never understand that we weren't together 24/7. You know, on the weekends, I would go do my thing. I'd be antiquing. He'd be playing golf. We'd end up together at night and having dinner and having a great time, but that we didn't do the same things 24/7, but that worked for us. I needed space. He needed space. But that's finding that person that works for you. They're, friends that like their partner with them in every activity they do. That would make me insane.
Do you have like a favorite story about dad or something that always makes you laugh when you think about it?
What do you think about that? Oh, I'd have to think about that one for a minute. That's too hard to do on the spur. I gotta think about that one. I don't know. I think back sitting around at dinner parties and him telling hysterical jokes.
He used to try to balance a spoon on his nose.
Oh, yeah.
At dinner.
Yeah, that was funny. Do you remember the time what were we eating? Something in Vermont. Oh, he put everything on his head. Do you remember that? Everything. At Christmas, you'd open a bowl and it would go, somebody would give you a
package,
a gorgeous bowl, some fancy crystal bowl. And next thing you know, he has it on his head.
He was a kid. He was always a kid.
Yeah, he was very playful.
Yeah, I think that's like...
keeps you young.
Great as a parent, too.
But he was also serious. He had the other side.
Yes.
There are also people that are always kids and never have the serious moment.
Which is annoying because you can't have real conversations.
Exactly.
He was intense.
Oh, yeah. He was very intense. So he had both sides, which was fun.
Get you a man who can do both.
Get you a man who can do both.
Do you remember finding out when you found out dad was sick for the first time? Because you found out before I found out.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Were you immediately like, this is not going to be good? Or did you start?
No. Well, I found out he was still out of it from the procedure. And the guy comes in and looks at me, gotta love a doctor. And he goes, he has colon cancer.
You didn't know before that?
No. And he's out of it. And the guy just looks at me, you need to go find an oncologist. He has colon cancer.
Oh, after what's it called? Colonoscopy? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. Obviously, reminder, always go and get yourself checked regularly. But he did regularly.
Yes.
He did the schedule that they recommended. And it was just very fast growing cancer. If you're new and you have never listened to the podcast, my dad passed away 5 years ago of cancer, colon cancer. And he had gone 2 years before.
A year and a half
before.
Yeah. So he was on schedule taking them. But anyway, he wasn't feeling good.
He didn't feel good, went to the doctor.
Yes. And they ran a million tests, couldn't find anything wrong.
Which is crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, but I guess, anyway, they couldn't find anything. And he called, I remember I was in Virginia working and he calls me, all the tests came back. They're great. Nothing's wrong. And I go, listen, you don't feel good. Something's wrong. You know your body. Everybody knows their body. I said, you go back. And he did. And the doc said, the only thing I can think of is have a colonoscopy. He said, but you just had one a year and a half ago.
And they found nothing.
So
either they missed it or it's truly that fast growing.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
So shocking that he had cancer. But when we went to the oncologist, we had a trip coming up and stuff. And he goes, oh, no, go on it. He said, it's so slow growing. You'll be fine.
Typically? I didn't know it was typically slow growing.
We'll take care of it when you get back.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you realize this isn't good? Not good, meaning like we're probably not going to make it out of this one.
He had several surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
It was a few surgeries in.
I forgot about some of those. I think I blocked some of them out.
I can't go through it chronologically because I've totally blocked it out. But I know the first one he went through, he sprung back really fast. He was back at work. But they
almost wanted to do a study on him. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Because of how quick he snapped back.
He snapped back. But anyway, so then when it started going south again, and then again, then you kind of started thinking, wait a minute, they're not on top of this
I think that's something I personally can look back on and be really proud of him for. He fought.
Yes, he
hard.
Did. Yeah, he did. He did.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. Don't you. I'm trying to hold it together. That's one of my flaws. You want to talk character flaws?
You brush everything under the rug.
No. I hate that I cry. I hate that I cry.
I never cry unless I'm talking about Dad.
I cry at the drop of a hat, and I hate that about myself because I can't control it.
The only thing that makes me cry is talking about Dad, and if I look at you.
Okay, so we'll just both look ahead and finish the conversation.
Okay. Okay. How did you get through it? Like what can you tell other people who are going through that, or how did you, because you handled it with so much grace. Like you're such a ride or die person that you dug your heels in. And I mean, you are fucking badass.
When it's going on, you can't think about it. It's
compartmentalized.
You go into business mode. This is what's going on. Let me find out the information. How do I handle it? How do we get through this? Because I realized at one point, he's so sick, it's me. I'm the one calling the docs.
So it's almost like clinical.
I'm the one screaming, and you can't let yourself feel. At that point, you can't. It's business. You put your head down and you go because that's what you have to do. So during the process, that's how I handled it.
After Dad passed away, how did you have created and continued to create such a full, and at least from what I perceive, happy, well-rounded life? How did you sort of what seemed like at least like seamlessly transition into still going and growing and living?
It wasn't seamless. You
did it with grace.
Did it with grace. Oof, sorry, hold on.
Less expensive than therapy.
I cried so much. I can remember one day thinking, can I get through one day without crying?
Yeah.
But then you just have to pick yourself up. And I think about, this is horrible what I've gone through, but there are so many people in this world who've gone through much worse than I have. So that's where I go with the
perspective.
Yes. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have had somebody in my life that long that was so amazing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people go whatever.
Never have that. So I'm blessed to have had someone in my life that long that was so amazing. I'm blessed to have had the life I've had. And, there are people, Lordy, that have been through so much more than I ever have. So that's what I work on. That's what I work on, is just being thankful.
Perspective. I think about that a lot too. And that's obviously because I was raised by you.
Yeah.
I have often said, and I really believe that since Dad passed, God has shown me how many people have shitty dads.
Oh, yeah.
Or shitty partners.
Yes.
But all in all, for me, I really have realized that I would take having a really great dad for 30 years over a shitty, crappy, half-ass.
Yes. So you just have to find, I think that's one thing you learn as you get older too. You can get upset, you can get, mad at a friend, or you can get, feel like you've been hurt or done wrong. And I have learned over the years, holding negativity hurts you more than it hurts them. And I kind of really work on that. You just have to remember you're blessed and wake up every day and think about something you're grateful for. And, you got to keep living. He wouldn't want you not to.
No, he wouldn't. I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish you knew earlier in life? It can be anything.
One thing I wish I knew.
Like one thing you would tell your younger self or tell me at my age that you now have 67 years of wisdom.
Oh, remember what's important. You know, I think when you're younger, I mean, I did when I remember when I first moved here, you go to lunch with all these women and stuff and all that. That's lovely. It's like at the end of the day, it's what makes you happy and it's your family. And I think that's where your bond should be, your focus at all times. They ought to be your top priority, you know.
And keep your circle small. My circle has gotten so much smaller over the years that people, when I focus on or put effort into a new friendship, spend time with somebody any amount of time, it's like something I compliment to the highest degree, because I don't really let that many new people get that close these days. And that's not to sound jaded. It's just like I'm busy and my focus is Kinsley and my family and my best friends and
you have to prioritize.
My work. And it's like, you just don't have time. Like, cut the shit.
Yeah, you don't have time, or you're not giving anybody enough, you know, if you're trying to do it so much. And anybody that brings any kind of negativity, I think negativity is so dangerous.
Toxic.
Yeah, so don't let it in.
Stress too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, stress is havoc on your body too.
Anything else that you want to share?
Oh, I think I've shared. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on Courtside with Courtney. I love you.
I love you.
An honor to be your daughter, and I'm so happy you're here.
I love you too.
What a shit show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Get out of here.